I was just trying to enjoy our romantic Italian getaway, sipping my espresso, when Brendan said he had to use the bathroom, then he just vanished. Poof. He left me abandoned in Italy, alone, with no wallet and no idea what was happening. It was supposed to be a prank, he said, but it quickly turned into something completely different, something he didn't expect at all. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? I'd love to know. Okay, so picture this. My husband, Brendan, and I, Eliza, were on what was supposed to be this amazing dream vacation in Florence, Italy. He'd been talking it up for months, saying we deserved a break, a real adventure. I mean, who wouldn't want that, right? We'd been married 7 years, and things had, well, they'd gotten a little routine, a little stale. I hoped this trip would be like a fresh start, a way to find that spark again. Brendan, he's always been the kind of guy who thinks he's hilarious, like, constantly cracking jokes that sometimes only he finds funny. And he loved to pull pranks, big and small. Sometimes they were harmless, like hiding my keys, but sometimes they went a bit too far. I'd told him that, too, countless times. Brendan, I'd say, there's a line, you know? But he'd just laugh, wave it off. Lighten up, Eliza. It's just a joke. We were sitting at this super cute outdoor cafe, the kind with little red checkered tablecloths, right near the Ponte Vecchio. The sun was warm, the smell of fresh pastries was in the air, and I was just soaking it all in. I had my little espresso, a tiny cup, you know, and a delicious cornetto, that's like an Italian croissant, and I was telling him about this small art gallery I wanted to check out later. Brendan, he was scrolling on his phone, barely listening, really. He had this way of making you feel like what you were saying wasn't quite as important as whatever was on his screen. Hey, Brendan, I said, a little louder, did you hear me about the gallery? He grunted, looked up briefly, then back down. Yeah, honey. Sounds great. Just like that. Then he stood up sudden like. Be right back, he said, nature calls. He gave me a quick, almost mischievous wink. I didn't think anything of it. He'd gone to the bathroom a million times before. So I just kept sipping my coffee, watching the people pass by, thinking about how lucky I was, despite his little phone habits, to be in such a beautiful place. I waited. And waited. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes. I started to get a tiny bit annoyed. Brendan always took forever, but this felt longer. I checked my watch. 15 minutes. Okay. Now I was actually starting to worry a little. I mean, what if he got lost? He wasn't exactly a whiz with directions, especially in a foreign city. Brendan? I murmured, looking around. No sign of him. I stood up, feeling a knot in my stomach. I walked over to where the restrooms were supposed to be, peeking my head in. Nope. Not there. Panic, cold and sharp, started to prickle at my skin. Brendan. I called out, my voice a little shaky. People at other tables glanced at me. I could feel their eyes. Oh, this was just humiliating. I walked back to our table, hoping maybe he'd just gone for a walk or to look at something. But his phone, his wallet, everything was gone. My stomach dropped. He had the hotel key too. And my wallet, my passport, they were all in the small backpack he'd been carrying. We decided he'd keep the important stuff, so I didn't have to lug it around. Smart, right? Huh. Yeah, real smart. I was standing there, just frozen. No phone. No money. No passport. And no Brendan. The cafe owner, a kind-looking older man, came over. Signora, is everything all right? He asked, his English a bit broken. I could feel tears stinging my eyes. My husband, he's gone. He went to the bathroom and he's not back. The owner looked confused, then a little concerned. He offered me another espresso, which I just stared at. I tried to think, really think, what I should do. I didn't even know the name of our hotel off the top of my head, just that it was a few blocks from the Duomo. I felt so incredibly stupid. So helpless. This wasn't just a prank, was it? This was something else. It was cruel. Hours passed. Hours. I sat there, then I paced. I asked people if they'd seen a man, trying to describe Brendan. Tallish, brown hair, kind of a goofy smile. No one had. The cafe closed for a few hours in the afternoon. I was left alone on the street, watching the shadows get longer. The fear was real now, a cold, heavy stone in my chest. What if something bad had happened to him? Or, what if this was on purpose? The thought, ugly and sharp, cut through me. He wouldn't, would he? Not really. But that mischievous wink, it kept replaying in my head. As evening fell, the streets started to get crowded again, but I felt more alone than ever. I was cold, hungry, and terrified. I knew I couldn't just sit there. I had to do something. So, I started walking, just wandering the streets, hoping I'd somehow recognize our hotel, or that Brendan would just reappear. But the city was a maze, beautiful but overwhelming. I felt this intense surge of anger. Anger at Brendan, yes, for doing this. But also anger at myself, for being so dependent, for letting him hold all the cards. For trusting him completely. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about finding my way back. This was about something bigger. About showing myself, and him, that I wasn't just some lost little thing. I was Eliza, and I could handle things. I had to. And as that resolve hardened, as the fear started to give way to a fierce, burning determination, a small voice inside me said, "Wait, what? What if this was an opportunity? An awful, terrible opportunity, but an opportunity nonetheless?" That first night was a blur of fear and exhaustion. I tried to sleep on a park bench, but the sounds of the city and the constant worry kept me awake. My stomach growled like crazy. The next morning, I felt gritty and miserable, but also strangely clear-headed. The anger was still there, a hot ember in my gut, but it was fueling me now. I knew I couldn't just wander aimlessly. I needed a plan. My English wasn't doing me much good, but I remembered a few basic Italian phrases from a language app I'd tried years ago. Davi. Aiuto. Where is? Help. Not much, but it was something. I ended up near a local market, drawn by the smells of fresh bread and cheese. My eyes must have looked completely lost, because a woman at a fruit stall smiled kindly at me. I tried to explain, using gestures and broken Italian. Marito, via, no soldi, no passaporto. Husband, gone, no money, no passport. She looked sympathetic, offered me an apple, which I devoured. It was the best apple I've ever tasted, I swear. She pointed me towards a small police station, but when I got there, explaining my situation without any ID was a nightmare. They were polite, but basically said they couldn't do much without a missing person report from Brendan or some form of identification for me. It was a dead end. I walked back towards the river, feeling defeated. But then I saw it, a small, bustling office with a sign that said Arte and Affari, art and business. I don't know why, but something about it made me pause. Maybe it was the art part, reminding me of the gallery I'd wanted to visit. Maybe it was just desperation. I walked inside. It was a small, kind of old-fashioned office, filled with stacks of papers and what looked like design sketches. A man, probably in his late 40s, with kind eyes and a warm smile, looked up from his desk. He had dark, slightly curly hair and wore a simple, well-made shirt. "Buongiorno," he said, his voice gentle. "Posso aiutarla?" I tried again, with my broken Italian and hand gestures to explain. "Sono Eliza. Mio marito. Brendan, Louis, mi ha lasciato. Ca. Senza niente." I gestured to my empty pockets. His smile faltered a bit as he understood. "Mi dispiace molto," he said, shaking his head. "That is very bad. What kind of man does this?" He introduced himself as Marco. He spoke English, thank goodness, with a lovely accent. A wave of relief washed over me. He listened patiently as I explained everything, the whole prank thing, my missing wallet, the hotel name I couldn't remember. He just kept nodding, his expression genuinely concerned. "Eliza," he said, after I finished, "you must be hungry, tired. Come, we will find you some food first. Then we think." He took me to a tiny trattoria nearby, insisted on paying, and just let me eat. I told him about my graphic design background, about how I used to work for a small marketing agency before Brendan convinced me to be a full-time homemaker, which really meant managing his schedule and his life. Marco, he listened to every word. He then told me about his business. He was an art consultant, connecting local artisans and designers with international clients, especially those looking for unique, high-quality Italian craftsmanship. He had a few big projects on the go, but he was struggling with the marketing materials, especially for English-speaking clients. His existing website and brochures were, well, he admitted, a bit rustic. "You have a good eye, I can tell," Marco said, looking at a quick sketch I'd made on a napkin while we talked. "And you understand how to make things look professional, inviting." My heart gave a little flutter. Someone was seeing me, Eliza, for me, not just Brendan's wife. He explained that he had a few potential clients coming in 2 days, a big American firm looking to commission custom furniture and decorative pieces for a new luxury hotel chain. He was on the verge of landing a huge deal, but he needed to impress them. The contracts, he said, they could be worth a lot of money. Millions, if I do this right. A sudden, wild idea sparked in my head. A crazy, impossible idea. What if I could help him? What if this terrible situation, Brendan's cruel prank, had put me exactly where I needed to be? "Marco," I said, my voice gaining strength, "I can help you. I can design new presentation materials. A website mock-up, brochures. Something modern, clean. Something that screams quality Italian design, but also professionalism in English." He looked at me surprised, then a slow smile spread across his face. "You would do this? You, in your situation?" "I have nothing to lose, Marco," I replied, a fierce resolve burning in my eyes. "And I have everything to prove. To myself. To him." We spent the rest of the day in his office. He had an old laptop, and I got to work. I hadn't felt this alive, this focused, in years. Every click, every design choice, felt like a small act of defiance. The anger at Brendan was still there, but it was transforming into pure, concentrated energy. Marco provided me with all the information I needed about his artisans, their stories, their incredible craftsmanship. I saw the potential, the real value in what he did. As I worked late into the night, Marco even found a small, affordable room for me in a pension just a few blocks away. It wasn't the Duomo, but it was safe and it was mine. I hardly slept, the adrenaline coursing through me. I was creating something real. And then a new thought, like a lightning bolt. Wait, what? What if I didn't just help Marco? What if I made sure these contracts were so impressive, so undeniably excellent, that I became indispensable? That I earned my own way out of this mess, not just by surviving, but by thriving? The next day was a whirlwind. I worked nonstop, fueled by bad coffee and pure determination. Marco was amazing, bringing me snacks, offering encouraging words, and just letting me do my thing. I built a sleek digital presentation, designed a stunning, minimalist brochure, and even mocked up a few pages for a new website, all showcasing the incredible artistry of his network. I felt a surge of pride with every pixel placed, every word chosen. This wasn't just about getting by. This was about proving my worth, to myself and to the world. Marco's, a bit rustic, materials were now gleaming with professionalism and modern appeal. He kept looking over my shoulder, his eyes wide. "Eliza," he'd say, "this is incredible. Truly." The big meeting was set for that afternoon. Marco was nervous, but I felt a strange calm. I had poured all my skill, all my raw emotion into this work. The clients arrived, two sharply dressed Americans, Ms. Davies and Mr. Choi. They looked serious, important. Marco introduced me as his new creative director, and I felt a thrill at the title. I sat in on the presentation, watching their faces as Marco navigated through the materials I had designed. Their expressions shifted from polite interest to genuine engagement. They asked questions, Marco answered, and sometimes I chimed in, explaining design choices or highlighting particular artisan stories. It felt natural, like I was meant to be there. Then, the magic happened. Ms. Davies, a woman with a no-nonsense air, leaned forward. "Marco," she said, "we are very impressed. This new presentation, it really elevates your brand. The quality of your artisans is clear, but this," she gestured to the screen, "this is what sells it. We're prepared to move forward. We'd like to sign for the initial phase, and we're looking at a multi-year commitment." We estimate the first year alone will be worth around $2.2 million in commissions. My breath caught. $2.2 million. My eyes met Marco's. He was beaming, his face a mixture of relief and pure joy. He extended his hand to me under the table, giving it a quick, grateful squeeze. We talked logistics, timelines, and signed preliminary agreements right there. The atmosphere was buzzing. As the clients left, Marco hugged me, lifting me off my feet. "Eliza, you did it. You truly did it." I just laughed, a real, full-throated laugh that felt like sunshine after a storm. I had done it. I had pulled myself out of a horrible situation, not just survived, but created something of real value. I had earned this. Marco insisted on drawing up a contract for me, a generous percentage of the deals I helped secure. He even offered me a permanent position with a proper salary, a beautiful apartment, and full Italian residency support. "Florence is your home now, Eliza," he said, his eyes warm. "If you wish it." But I knew I had to go back, at least for a moment. Not to Brendan, but to face him. To show him. Marco helped me arrange a flight back home. He even gave me a burner phone, saying, "So you are never truly without connection again." 2 days later, I was back in our house. Brendan was there, looking sheepish, sitting on the couch. He looked up when I walked in, his eyes wide. He'd clearly been worried, probably thought I was going to rip into him. "Eliza, oh my God, you're back." I was starting to get really worried. "You fell for it." "It was just a prank, babe." "A bit much, maybe, but just a prank." He even tried to give me a hug. I stepped back. My voice was calm, clear, completely unlike the woman he'd left abandoned. "Brendan," I said, holding up a small, elegant folio Marco had given me, containing the signed contracts and my new business cards. "Some pranks just aren't funny. While you were pranking me, I was making $2.2 million in new contracts for an art consultant in Florence. I'm his new creative director. I also have an apartment in Italy, a new life. And I have something else too." I pulled out my new Italian-issued passport, which Marco, with his connections, had helped fast-track. "So, you can keep your jokes, Brendan. You can keep this house. Because you just made yourself completely irrelevant to my life." His face, oh, it froze. His jaw dropped, his eyes bugged out. He stammered, "W what? 22 million? What are you even talking about?" He looked completely bewildered, utterly stunned. He saw the genuine glow in me, the confidence, the new strength. He saw that I was not the same woman he had abandoned. He had tried to break me, to humble me, to make me feel small. Instead, he had set me free. My life with Brendan was over, a chapter closed. My new life, with Marco and the world of art and business, was just beginning. This wasn't revenge in the petty sense, no. This was justice. This was me, Eliza, standing tall, independent, and strong. And it was all thanks to his prank. Don't ever let anyone make you feel small. You have more power than you know.